First, we're gonna provide a little bit of a visual for you guys. So we got two lines. We're gonna imply some kind of resistance with these lines. Okay, this could be the weight coming down on you in a squat, a deadlift, curls, presses. Most of the time it's gravity, but this is what we're gonna imply the resistance with. Okay, your body is right in the middle of this resistance, okay? This is Mr. Good Body, Mr. Bad Body. Now, Mr. Good Body, keeping all this connected, okay? They're all working together. They're working together because our abs, our lower back, maybe a little lower abs, pelvic floor, everything close to your hips, serratus, obliques, all that good stuff. Those are all working together, okay? We can easily argue that this could be one big structure. We can consider this one structure. When they're working together, okay, they're strong, they're stable. They're gonna take care of your spine. It's gonna keep your hips in place. So when you're doing your squats, deadlifts, presses, curls, whatever you're doing, it can actually help you engage the rest of the muscles in your body. The core is not just the upper abs. So if you're doing a workout for your core and you're just burning out your upper abs and you're thinking that this is all gonna get stronger and you're gonna see a six pack in 2 weeks, you're wrong. So the core training is not just ab training. Core training is all of this becoming stronger and more stable, getting it all to work together. Did I beat that over the head enough for you? Okay. Okay, instead of a nice solid structure, it's all on different pages because, right, abs are going crazy. They're more stretched out. They're not compact, more stretched out. The obliques, serratus and stuff is all on different page. Can't even really engage everything in the hips and the lower abs, pelvic floor, because they're not in a position that'll help everything else. And also your lower back, okay? Look what's happening to that lower back. Your erectors, right? Everything that takes care of your spine, your hips, look what's happening. Instead of all of this being in a strong, stable structure, okay, we got this thing going on. So this happens when people have that rib flare, right? If the ribs are up, right, trainer will tell you, please get the ribs down. Okay, that's what that means. Or point your ribs down towards the hips, right? But if the hips are tilted down, then you got something that looks like this, okay? You should have a nice strong structure like that, rib to hip relation, okay? So everything that we just talked about is tight, compact, strong, stable, everything's working together. When you get to here, look at all this, it's all loose, it's not working, right? Stretched out, very compromising position. There's no way that you can engage every other muscle in your body because of that now. And check it out, all we have to do to understand core engagement on the floor, watch this Disney magic, is turn that stuff sideways. So now instead of that line of resistance, right? We got this line that represents the floor. I'll get rid of the arrows. Looks like a mess now. Now, in order to keep this structure, okay, a trainer will try to get you to understand what it feels like to flatten your back against the ground, right? Get it all as one solid piece. It's strong, it's all working together. It's stable, right? Putting those ribs down, meeting those hips, so it's all in relation to each other, okay? You get the idea, you're getting that. Now, if you're laying on the ground and you're going slack, you're not establishing tension in the body when you're doing a certain exercise, then you're gonna get the bad news bears situation we just talked about, okay? So they'll try to get you to put your ribs down, meet those hips in relation with the rest of your core, okay? They'll put their hand under your lower back to make sure there's no space. Obviously, there's space here, right? So look at the space. That's space. Space, the final frontier. There's no final frontier here. Look what happened to that space. Okay? Obviously, you're not gonna have your lower back completely against the ground the whole time you're doing an exercise, but this is the goal. That's what you're trying to associate with core engagement. This is bad core engagement. Good, bad. Mr. Good Body, Mr. Bad Body Johansson. Let's apply that to the floor or any floor exercise, any ab exercise, right? Let's just use a basic crunch. So knowing that I have to get rid of that space, so I flatten it out, I'm gonna tilt my pelvis enough where I can get my ribs pointing down at it. And you might be the kind of person that when you do that, you bring that neck up with you, establish that tension. You can even keep your hands down on your ribs, right? breathe in, get that structure that we just talked about, and now I can go for that tall spine. If you just hold this, you're gonna understand what your core actually does. If I let go of it, look at all the slack that happened. My hips, they bump out, right? They tilt, my ribs come up. There's even some slack in my shoulders, and now my neck is in a really weird position, right? Obviously, that is no way or no position to take on tension or high amount of resistance, no matter what it is. When it comes to the crunch, what I usually have people do is lift those legs up. So it's easier to tilt those hips in that position. Feet above the knees. Now I can breathe in and find that position. And all I gotta worry about is flexing my ribs in and flexing the upper abs. And the goal should be to return back to that spot I was just at. People get injured by flexing and then going slack and thinking they need to push through it and push through the pain in their back and then complain that crunches hurt themselves. Let's talk about a plank. I wrapped up my shirt so you can really see. If I'm on my forearms and I don't have that structure to hold me up, it's not an ab exercise. If those hips are tilting, if I got that slack, right? This is a horrible way to do a plank. Look what happened. My knees are going slack, my shoulders are in a bad position, but if I raise those hips up and I pull those ribs in, tilting out so I can stretch out and tighten up everything, and you got yourself an effective core exercise. Now let's apply this to something as simple as a step up. Keeping that structure in mind, right? And knowing that if we tilt, rotate, go slack, flex, whatever, if we do that, we lose the tension. So all I have to do is keep this tension while I'm going through whatever motion I'm trying to work. So for the step up, the effort would be to keep that structure in my core all throughout the movements. Some people are good coming up, but lose it as they're going down. So what they would have to work on is keeping the tension on both parts of the motion, up and down, concentric, eccentric. This is usually the case for a bad step up. So if you're watching this angle, and I start with a little bit of rotation, right? Tilt, whatever. First thing that happens, because of that slack, there's no tension, I'm already getting a pretty bad position on my knee. So when I come up, look how much I gotta work to get my body behind it. Again, this could all be fixed if I just keep my core structure throughout the motion. If you want, you can hold your hands to emulate that structure, right? Some people like those arms straight. Okay, so if you ever see someone doing something funky with their hands, it's to keep that tension in the body. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of what exactly core control is. You know how to coach yourself now. So in your own workouts, you can look for those certain concepts that we just talked about, those certain details, and major thing you need to do is recognize them when you're doing them correctly and remember how it feels. That way, when you go on your squats or deadlifts, your upper body, lower body workouts, whatever you're doing at home, you can easily go right back to that memory of what it should feel like. It's gonna become second nature.